This is section 6.2. We're going to be solving linear equations in one variable. A linear equation is an equation that can be written in the form ax plus b equals 0. A and b are real numbers. A cannot equal 0. In other words, if I have 2x plus 7 equals 0, that would be an example of a linear equation. Solving an equation involves determining all the values of x that result in a true statement when substituted into the equation. And you're wondering what that means exactly. You've been solving equations. You solved equations in Algebra 1. You solved equations in Algebra 2. It's no different. If, for example, I have 4x plus 12 equals 0, and I want to solve it, that means get the x by itself. So I have to do opposite operations. If this is an add 12, I have to subtract 12. This is 4 times x, so opposite of times is divide by 4, and you get x equals -3. I have solved that equation. This -3 is called a solution. It's also called a root. Two different words for the same thing. The addition property of equality, the same number or algebraic expression may be added to both sides without changing the equation solution set. Basically what that means is if I have x minus 8 equals 10, I can add 8 to both sides and it still is legal operation. Multiplication property of equality, same idea, only this time you're multiplying or dividing. So if I have 2 times x equals 6, I don't know if you guys can hear that crowd in the hallway, but they're being awfully noisy. I apologize for that. So I have 2 times x equals 6. The opposite of times is divide, and I get x equals 3. So this property, multiplication property, says that this operation, dividing by 2, is legitimate. It's allowed. This is basically just a summary, examples of how to use those properties. Let's talk about the steps to solving a linear equation. First thing you want to do is simplify. Simplify the left side, simplify the right side. Next thing you want to do is get the variable terms on one side and the number terms on the other. Solve and check your answer. All right, so let's suppose we have this equation. Notice I have parentheses. First thing I have to do is distribute the 2, so 2 times x. Don't forget to multiply the 2 times the -4. Okay, now notice on the left-hand side I've got 2 different x's that can be combined. So if I take 2x and subtract 5x, I have -3x, and I still have my -8 is equal to -5. Be careful, this is -3x. It is not -3x squared. The only time you get x squared is when you multiply x times x. We did not multiply, we added, therefore it is -3x and not -3x squared. We do have to get the 8 on the other side. Opposite of subtract 8 is add 8. And I have -3 times x. Opposite of times is divide. You're dividing by -3. This is the number we care about. We're not dividing by this 3. We're dividing by this -3. Be careful. X equals -1. All right, we have two different graphs. We have the low humor group and we have the high humor group. And these numbers down here, the intensity of a negative life event. So this would be a really intense negative life event, like, I don't know, maybe a death in the family. And this would be a low intensity negative event, like maybe you got a failing grade on a quiz or something. This is the level of depression in response to the life event, negative life event. So we have two different equations. We have the low humor group. In other words, they don't have a very good sense of humor. They don't laugh about too many things. And we have the high humor group. So we are interested in the intensity of a negative life event with an average level of depression of 7/2 for the high humor group. All right, so we're only looking at the high humor group formula. High humor group formula was right here. Okay. And let's see. And the depression level was 7/2. So D is 7/2. So we're going to replace our D with 7/2. 7/2, and I still don't remember the formula here. 1/9 x plus 26/9. All right, now there's two different ways you can do this equation, the hard way and the easy way. You can do this equation with fractions or you can do this equation without fractions. I personally recommend eliminating the fractions first before you do anything. So that will make your life a whole lot easier. Okay, to eliminate the fractions, what we do is we look at all the denominators. I've got a 2, a 9, and a 9. So what is the least common multiple between 2, 9, and 9? Smallest number they all go into is 18. So I'm going to multiply the numerators, just the top, by 18, but I'm not actually going to multiply that in. I'm just going to write times 18. And the reason why I don't actually multiply is because I chose 18 deliberately because 2 goes into 18 9 times. 9 also goes into 18 twice. I chose 18 deliberately so that I could take 9 into 18. I could take 2 into 18. So I take 2 into 18 9 times. I cross out the 2. I cross out the 18. I'm left with 9 times 7, which is 63. I take 9 into 18. It goes twice. I'm left with 2 times 1 times x, or 2x. 9 goes into 18 twice. 2 times 26 is 52. And I have to solve it. So I have to get the x by itself, subtract the 52. And I get 11 is equal to 2x. And divide by 2. Remember, your answer must be a fraction. Do not give me a decimal. Improper fraction. Improper fraction. Simplified. All right. Here we're solving a formula for a variable. It is, you solve exactly the same way. It's just you're using letters instead of numbers. So if I have t equals d plus p times m and I want to isolate p, in other words, I need to get p by itself. Okay, that's the letter I have to get by itself. That would be, you're going to do exactly the same process as if you had numbers here. So let's suppose you have, I don't know, 10 is equal to 8 plus p times 2, whatever. Okay? Notice that the t is in the same place as the 10. The d is in the same place as the 8. I still have the plus. I still have the times. Okay? So, how would you solve this equation? Well, you'd get p by itself. 10 is equal to, I don't remember what the numbers are. How would you get the p by itself? You would get rid of this first. Well, in this, you got to get rid of the d first. This is a positive 8, so you subtract 8. This is a positive d, so you subtract d. So you have t minus d is equal to p times m. Now, normally, if we were doing this equation, we would actually take 10 subtract 8, but let's actually leave it as 10 subtract 8. Still trying to get the p by itself. I have 2 times p. The opposite of times is divide. Divide by 2. That will cancel out the 2. Well, I have p times m. What's the opposite of times? It's divide. And your final answer. So the exact same steps you would use if there were numbers is the exact same steps you're going to use just because they're letters. It doesn't matter. Numbers or letters, the process is the same. All right, let's solve this equation. Distribute the 2. I have x's on both sides of the equal sign, so I have to get them on the same side. What's 2x subtract 2x? That's 0. 2x subtract 2x, and I get 6 equals 4. Now be careful. When my x's disappear, when my x's cancel out, no more x's, the answer is no solution. Now be careful here when I say no solution because we have two numbers that are not, in fact, equal to each other. Is 6 equal to 4? No. These are not equal to each other, therefore there's no solution. And by the way, if you get something like x equals 0, this is not a no solution question. X equals 0 is a solution. 0 is a number. This is not a no solution type of problem. When the x's actually cancel out and there's no more x's in the problem, that's when you're going to say either no solution or infinitely many solutions. So 4x plus 6, distribute the 6, combine like terms, 6x subtract 2x is 4x, get the x's on the same side. Notice again the x's disappear, but this time I get 6 equals 6. So this time the answer is infinitely many solutions. Yes, you do have to write out, you can abbreviate infinite, infinitely many solutions. Do not tell me 6 equals 6. That's not the answer. The answer is infinitely many solutions. And your homework.